Hello, Andrew, and everybody else listening in via the YouTube video. This is a public video, so everybody will have an opportunity to look through this and learn from doing the design here. So, Andrew wanted a little bit of a review before he got his project into production. So, what we're going to do is just kind of look through his project here and answer some questions. First question Andrew had, and I will do a final review after we're done here and just kind of look for anything that I see that's out of the ordinary. First review he asked for was, do we need a refrigerator or a dishwasher cabinet? Let's see here. So basically, finding the dishwasher and refrigerator cabinet. Let's see. There we go. It looks like you have a little dishwasher kind of going in here. Now, most dishwashers are going to be 24 inches wide. I would highly recommend ordering a cabinet or a dishwasher cabinet from our website. I always do. Okay, so I'm going to find that for you here. Sorry about that. So dishwasher cabinet right here. If you go to base cabinets and then go to appliance base cabinets, dishwasher cabinet's really cool. The nice thing about it is it's pretty simple. It's just a few pieces of plywood, but it also allows you to maintain the space. Your 24-inch wide space. So most likely you're going to order this cabinet at 25.5 is what we usually recommend. That's actually spelled out right there as well. Okay. The nice thing about it is it makes installation a lot easier. It also adds a little bit of a barrier. Notice that this flat surface right here is basically the thickness of the panel. That's going to space that dishwasher off from any doors or drawer fronts you have going on over here in this area. Okay. And the cool thing about that is, if that dishwasher kind of tweaks itself and gets off to one side or moves, it could rub the sides of the doors and drawers. So I do recommend using a base appliance case to house a dishwasher. Now, next one you're going to look at, he asked about, was doing a refrigerator cabinet. Okay, looking at the refrigerator is right here. We don't have a refrigerator cabinet, and the reason why we don't have one is just the panels are too large. So we usually recommend people use end panels. Now, along those lines, there is a way. If you go to our Barker forums, let's pull that up real quick, and then you type in, you just type in ceiling, or I'm sorry, refrigerator. Okay, so that'll pull up this one. Let's see here. Refrigerator, surround, and wall oven attachment. Okay, so basically, if you click on this one, new design, kitchen design implementation. So basically what we do here, it's pretty simple to take a look at this. You have a wall two-door cabinet above your refrigerator, and most people will drop two end panels down, and that kind of creates that sort of enclosure most people are looking for basically housing a refrigerator. I'd highly recommend ordering these wall cabinets at 26 inches deep. That's from front to back of the cabinet. Same thing here, you'd order your end panels at 26 and 5/8 from front to back. And then the full height, usually run from the floor up to almost the ceiling, basically wherever your cabinet tops are. I recommend doing that because it just makes it a lot cleaner look. It's going to work a little bit better. Now, in your case, Andrew, on this one, you do have a refrigerator opening here. You're probably looking at, well, how do I block off this end so I don't see the side of the refrigerator? And that's an option. You don't have to do it. You could. That's definitely standard. You might think of taking this end panel right here and just dropping it all the way down to the floor. Now it's going to require you to, let's zoom in here. So that's going to require this cabinet. This one is 19 inches. You're going to have to probably shrink that thing down by 3/4 of an inch to 18 and a quarter. Okay. I would highly recommend doing that, dropping a tall end panel to the floor. And those are available in the tall cabinets category on our website. So that would be here. If you go to tall cabinets, right there on the end panels, you can use one of these slab end panels. And there you go. And you'd order it at full height, whatever the cabinet heights are in that room. Okay, so that's the refrigerator. Highly recommend doing that. You don't really need one over here unless you're going to see a lot of it. So if you have a huge space or a huge gap between the edge of the refrigerator and the cabinet, which we'll get into here in a minute, you might get away with not having to do an end panel there because it's going to be more seamless coming from this cabinet to here. But I'd highly recommend dropping that one down to the floor. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. Okay, so moving on. We have a blind corner base cabinet question. Basically, I am going to show you the blind corner base cabinet, if I can find it. There it is. Okay. So anyway, so this is basically the blind corner base cabinet. Now you're obviously using the Cabinet Vision program. Now the version you had is a little bit newer, so I can't open yours up on my computer here. But basically, when we talk about blind, the blind on the cabinet, it's the point from here to here. In most cases, it's going to be 24. Now you can modify that on the website, but definitely I'd highly recommend when ordering this cabinet to make sure you go and go off of the specs on the website. The specs on the website are very accurate. We make them that way on purpose. Let's just find that corner cabinet there. So let's just look at this one. So just make sure you get. Sorry, just people putting orders in. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. Oh, there's another one. Okay. Anyway, so just go off of this. Blind is really going to be 24 inches on a standard. You always have your 3-inch increments for your fillers, and then the depth. Now, sometimes when you pull it up on your computer with Cabinet Vision, their software is not what I would call extremely reliable. Okay, it's not a Fortune 500 company making their software stuff. I do like their software a lot, so don't get me wrong. It's got a lot of functionality, but it can be a little glitchy sometimes. So just make sure your dimensions are correct, and by doing that, just look at the width. Let me move this over. Sorry about that. Width right there. Total width from left to right. That's basically from this point here to the end of the cabinet over here, and everything else should be good. If you need any more information on that, I can get into it more. Just let me know via email. I'll take care of it for you. Okay, so moving on. Okay, next question Andrew had was about the refrigerator. How much clearance to have around the refrigerator? Highly recommend. You had stated you were going to be looking at doing an 1.5 inch gap from the side of the refrigerator to the cabinet case or whatever else is next to it. That to me seems like a lot. If you're going to enclose the refrigerator, I'd highly recommend using a 1/2 inch increment, so 1/2 inch gap, on left and right. Okay, so 1/2 inch gap on the left and right sides. Nicest thing about that. Nice thing about that is going to be the fact that it's going to make it look more built in. Most refrigerators are usually going to be 36 inches wide, so having an 1.5 inch gap is a little too much. I think you should do something around a 1/2 inch on the left and right side, and on the top, I would highly recommend using an additional 1 inch above the hinge on the cabinet or on the refrigerator. And the reason I say the hinge is because the hinge usually sticks up another 3/4 inch or so, more than the actual case. And if you're going to do these, if you're going to knock these tall cabinets, and you're going to make them come out, make them deeper. Let's go to the top view here, which it looks like you are. It looks like right now you have them at 24-inch depth. Okay, and you got your base cabinets at 24 inches in depth. And I'm going to talk about the cabinet and how the countertop relates to your tall cabinets in just 1 second. So, anyway, so above the refrigerator, 1 inch. Kind of recap that. 1 inch on the top, 1/2 inch on the left and right. That said. Moving on, the depth of this cabinet right here, I'd highly recommend making the depth of this cabinet, let me just spell this out right here, 26 inches deep. And then making all the base cabinets at 24. Okay. And the reason I do that is because how we talked about it earlier about dropping this end panel. If we drop this end panel down to the floor, and you do it at 26 5/8, the end panel depth, then the nice thing about it is, and I can't really show you this in 3D, but you're going to have a countertop running into this. Now, if you have this at the same depth as your base cabinet, so basically, in this case, they're going to wrap this, this countertop around this corner here. If you drop that thing down, they can just die that countertop right off into the end panel, and it's a much smoother transition than trying to do like a corner. They got to basically do that, and then they have to do like the finished profile here, and then you got a refrigerator sticking right next to it. So highly recommend dropping that down to the floor, and then that would be 26 inches deep, this whole area right here. And then the countertop just dies right off into the face of that end panel. And it's going to look a lot cleaner if you're going to be doing tile or granite. It's just a lot simpler, and it's a lot more professional way of doing it. Okay? All right, so next question here. Next question you had was, how do the cabinets mount to the wall? Highly recommend you can use any sort of system. A lot of people have different installation systems like rails and stuff like that. We recommend just screwing our cabinets directly into the studs. Just trying to find out where the studs are and then screwing them in. And then also you can attach each cabinet together. On all of our wall cabinets, base cabinets, and everything else like that, if I can find it. Let's pull up a wall cabinet real quick. I'm going to show you exactly how sturdy these things are. This is the cool part about it. All right, so looking at the back of our cabinet here, we have nailers, so 3/4 inch thick nailers, and they're also attached and integrated right into the cabinet. So you got a lot of room to work with here. So the idea is that these nailers are going to hold that cabinet on the wall forever. Sometimes doing it the old-fashioned way might just be the best way of doing it. So I'd recommend screwing them straight into the studs. Okay, next question. It sounds like you had a wall cabinet next to the cooker on the right-hand side. I would assume that is this cabinet. Let's just double check your layout here. I believe so. Okay, yeah. So anyway, this cabinet right here, yeah, that's fine. Drop this end panel down. This cabinet can be butted up right next to it. I mean, literally, the idea is these doors, when they open, when they pull away from the face of the cabinet, or they pull straight out from the face of the cabinet and then open. Obviously, with this cabinet being this close, you're not going to be able to open it more than 90 degrees, but the functionality is still going to be there. Don't worry about the cabinet door not being able to work. It will work just fine. There's no problem with that at all. You're completely fine the way you have it designed here, so don't worry about that. Okay? All right, and the last part of it here, you just had a note on your email. It said 2-inch light valance underneath. Let's take a look here and see where you're at. All right, so the elevation of your upper cabinets from the floor, a good general rule that I like to say is to make it 54 inches from the floor to the bottom of the upper cabinets. That's basically the elevation that you'll see on cabinet visions if you're laying them out here. Let's just get this thing into you. There we go. Highly recommend elevation right here should be 54. Okay? And that leaves you enough room for a light valance underneath. 2-inch tall light valance will look really nice there. Okay? And the reason for that we recommend 54 is simply because we've been doing cabinets since the 70s, and not me personally, but family has, and that tends to be the sweet spot for the look. If you get up a little bit too high, like at 55 or 56, it just doesn't feel right. It feels like it's just too tall. So 54 seems to be the dead on, just that's what it is. Right now you're currently at 54 3/4, so you might think of just dropping those cabinets down another 3/4. You know, increase the height of your filler, increase the height of your wall cabinets. Okay. All right. Next thing I wanted to look at, we're just gonna kind of do like a little search and destroy here. Above your countertop or above your wall cabinets, highly recommend if you're gonna go to the ceiling, which it looks like you are, you actually have it set up pretty well here. If you go to our forums and just type in ceiling into the search bar. That's not how you spell ceiling. And click search. Cabinets to the ceiling. Okay, there's some pretty good posts in here that customers have asked about. And you're going to see here, we have two different ways of doing it. Now, obviously, you could do a flat crown and then run that into the ceiling because you can adjust the heights of these flat crowns. You can make it like 10 inches tall if you really wanted to and scribe it into the ceiling. Most likely, you're going to want a piece of regular crown molding. And in this case, I'd highly recommend doing it. Sorry about that. All right, so anyway, crown molding, I'd highly recommend putting a piece of flat crown on and then building up your crown molding on top of that. So you have 1 inch of space above the doors, or above the cabinet case, a flat crown showing, and then you attach your standard crown onto the face of the flat crown, kind of how you see it here. And the cool thing about this is it really works well because your ceiling is going to have some dips and some bows in it. It's not going to be level. So you're going to want that crown molding to follow the contour of the ceiling, but you don't want the cabinets to look like junk when you put them up there, because if you don't get the seam right, obviously, if you try to run the bottom of this crown molding right to the top of your doors, you can imagine any sort of imperfection at all is going to have a big problem here. Okay, with this extra one inch of space, a flat crown, it's going to make it look a lot better. You're going to have a lot more freedom to put that in there. So highly recommend height of the crown. Usually I think it's 3 inches or so is what our crown molding comes out at. And then do a 1 inch tall flat piece here. So obviously you have to order the flat crown at 2 inches. You need a little extra there in the back. Okay. So basically you'll need a gap of 4 inches. So from the top of the cabinet to the bottom of the ceiling, use 4 inches. And I believe currently you have 5 1/4. So you might think of shrinking that down a little bit, unless you want more of a flat space. That is an option too. Okay, you'll probably be okay either way you do it here. Just as long as you have some sort of a flat crown, and then the crown molding on top of that. That 2-piece crown is going to save you a lot of hassle at installation. Okay. Next thing to look at here is your oven pieces. Let's see. You have, it looks like you got some pieces built up in here. Maybe some. I don't know if you're doing a wall like a wall oven or a range or a slide in. Just double check the width here because this looks like 28.5. If you have two end panels here, 28.5 between here and here. And most slide-in ranges, stuff like that, they're going to be looking for something that's more along the lines of 30 inches. So just make sure you double check that. Same thing up here. I really want this to have the same symmetrical lines. It looks like you might be trying to run a hood enclosure or like a Brown hood or something like that right below here. I would highly recommend bringing these end panels up to the bottom of this cabinet and then basically attaching your hood, your vent, like vent hood or whatever you're using there, to the underside of this upper cabinet. And the reason I would do that is if you have this thing setting on top of these end panels, it makes it harder to install, first of all, but also you might be able to see some of the seam. It's just not typical, so I'd highly recommend taking these end panels, go from the bottom of this cabinet, and then running them all the way up to the bottom of this upper cabinet here, and then making sure that your dimension here between this and here is correct. Okay. Other than that, you should be just fine. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff is pretty simple. Just real small little changes here and there. So, okay, so that's all I saw on that wall. Let's take a look at the other wall. Make sure you have enough room for your dishwasher. Most likely, you're probably trying to center your sink on the window. A lot of the time, that is, that's the goal. You might be able to squeeze a little bit more room by shrinking the sink cabinet. Obviously, it looks like you've tried to do that already because you're at 34 3/4. Standard sink cabinet widths are 36 inches. That's what everybody makes their sinks for, to sit into. You're at 34 3/4. Most likely it'll be okay. Sometimes they have bigger, wider sinks, and they won't fit into that. You might have to do some modifications to the ends of the unfinished ends of the cabinet. So, highly recommend just making sure you watch your openings here. If you use the dishwasher cabinet, you're going to have to shrink your sink cabinet down a little bit and maybe even cut this filler down. So other than that, everything else looks pretty good. That looks fine. You got your filler to the wall. That's fine. 1.5" filler. Good. We only saw them at 2 inches. You might have to rip it down a little bit on site, but that's fine. We actually have primarily used 1.5", but on our website we can only run 2-inch wide fillers through our edge banders, so we have to sell them at 2 inches. Okay. One other thing I did want to look at, for everybody else out there looking too, this is very important. Dishwasher, or whatever you have going on here, might have a smaller dishwasher going on. Just be sure, dishwashers usually fold out, so make sure if you have 3 inches of space here, just make sure that you're, you got your drawer front, which is 3/4 of an inch, and then any hardware you put onto the top of that. So, if you have a 3/4 inch or say, thick drawer front on this one, and you have a piece of hardware on it that say sticks out another 1 inch, you're going to need to make sure that this dishwasher is going to be able to clear that when it opens. So in this case, let's see what you have going on there. You'll be okay here because, yeah, if it did fold down this way, you're going to miss your hardware. So this is fine. Some people do get into trouble here when they get into some of these corner applications. They'll try to make a 3-drawer base cabinet, for example, right here, and then they can have problems where they try to open the dishwasher and it hits the hardware on the handles on it, and that's pretty much standard. I mean, you just want to make sure you really kind of deal with that in design, because that's a bit of a pain trying to fix that on install, and it does happen a lot. You'd actually be very surprised. So other than that, everything looks good. You got fillers going to the wall there, end panels, everything looks good there. I really don't have anything else. I think that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any other questions. Feel free. I think everybody learns a lot from these videos, and they can really help, especially when people are trying to design their own kitchens. So give us a call or email. My email here is chad, C-H-A-D, Chad at barkercabinets.com. I do have a Barker Door account as well. So, and again, this is Chad Barker with Barker Cabinets. Have a great day.